The outpost station circled a pale blue gas giant that no one had bothered to name yet. It was just another dot on a long list of frontier systems, too far from trade routes, too poor in resources, too quiet to matter. The station itself was small, shaped like a metal ring with a few branching arms, always humming softly as it worked to keep one human alive inside it. Lieutenant Mara Ionescu liked the quiet on most days. Quiet meant no alarms. Quiet meant no one needed rescue. Quiet meant she could pretend she had chosen this posting instead of being gently placed here like a fragile object on a high shelf. She moved slowly down the main corridor, one hand sliding along the wall rail. Her right leg wore a black brace from thigh to ankle, thin metal supports hugging it tight. Every third step came with a faint click from the locking joint at her knee. In the silence of the station, the sound seemed louder than it really was. "Good morning, Lieutenant," the station AI said in its calm, neutral voice. "Morning, Lyra," Mara replied. Her voice was warm, but there was always a trace of tiredness under it.
"Status check. All systems operating within acceptable parameters. External radiation levels are low.
No incoming traffic detected." "Same as yesterday," Mara said with a small smile. "Correct," Lyra answered. Mara reached the observation window at the end of the corridor and leaned one shoulder against the frame. The gas giant filled half the view, its clouds swirling in soft bands of blue, white, and silver. Light from the distant star turned the edges gold. It was beautiful in a distant, lonely way. "Still worth the view," she murmured. She did not say what she was really thinking. "At least the planet doesn't care how I walk." 5 years ago, she had not walked at all. The memory came without asking. Fire, metal screaming, gravity, flipping sideways. The shuttle had been a diplomatic transport, small but sturdy. She had been there as a xenobiologist, meant to study a new species joining the Galactic Coalition. It should have been a simple trip. Then a micrometeor storm had turned simple into disaster. She remembered smoke filling the cabin. One of the alien diplomats trapped under a fallen panel, its skin flickering in distress. Another screaming in a voice like breaking glass. Mara had cut her way through twisted metal, ignoring the pain in her own leg after something heavy crushed it. She had dragged both aliens into an escape pod that barely worked. She remembered thinking, "I just have to hold on until rescue." Rescue had come. Recovery had not. Her leg had healed wrong, nerves damaged beyond repair. Internal injuries left her in constant low-burning pain. The doctors had been kind, careful with their words. The Coalition had been kind too. Too kind. "Given your service record, Lieutenant, we want to make sure you have a role that matches your current needs, limitations, long-term care considerations." She had smiled and signed the transfer orders to Outpost Relay Station K-47. A quiet place, low demand, minimal physical strain. A perfect place for someone no longer built for the front lines. Mara pushed the memory away and tapped the console near the window. "Lyra, bring up today's task list." A soft screen of light appeared in the air. "Routine sensor calibration. Hydroponics nutrient check, external comm array diagnostic," Lyra listed. "All right," Mara said. "Let's keep the galaxy talking." She turned, and for a second her foot caught on the edge of the floor panel. Pain shot up her leg, sharp and bright. She grabbed the wall rail hard, breath hissing between her teeth. "Are you injured?" Lyra asked immediately. "Already was," Mara said after a moment, forcing a chuckle. "Just a reminder." She straightened slowly and continued down the corridor. She did not limp faster. There was no one here to impress. Hours later, she floated in the hydroponics bay, checking the rows of green plants that helped recycle the station's air. Her movements were careful and practiced. She used her arms more than her legs, pushing gently off rails to drift from one section to another. She liked this part. Plants did not look at her with pity. They did not speak in careful voices. They just grew. Lyra, adjust row 3 light levels by 2%, she said. Done. A soft chime echoed through the station. Mara frowned.
That's not on the schedule. Correct, Lyra said.
Unidentified vessel has exited faster than light travel at the edge of the system.
Mara grabbed the nearest handhold, steadying herself. Her heart kicked up, fast and sudden.
Unidentified how? No transponder code on standard coalition frequencies. Hull configuration does not match any known registry in my database. Mara felt a strange mix of excitement and nerves.
First contact situations were rare out here. Usually new species were found closer to the core worlds. Distance? She asked. 3 million kilometers and closing at sublight speed.
Trajectory suggests approach to this station. Mara pushed off toward the exit.
Well, she muttered, guess we're not that boring after all. By the time she reached the command deck, she was breathing hard. She lowered herself carefully into the central chair, adjusting her leg with both hands before it started to throb too badly. On screen, she said. The main display lit up. A ship appeared against the black of space. It was long and curved, almost organic in shape. Like a silver leaf drifting on dark water, soft lines of blue light ran along its surface, pulsing gently.
Beautiful, Mara whispered.
Scanning, Lyra said, detecting life signs.
Atmosphere mix similar to oxygen-breathing species, but with higher humidity tolerance.
Any weapons? Energy signatures present but low.
Configuration unclear. Training settled over her like an old jacket.
Open a wideband greeting on standard first contact frequencies, audio and visual.
A moment later, she was looking at her own reflection on the dark screen while the signal went out. This is Lieutenant Mara Ionescu of Galactic Coalition Relay Station K-47, she said clearly. We greet you in peace. You are in Coalition space.
Please respond if you can understand this message.
Silence stretched. Mara became very aware of the hum of the station, the faint ache in her leg, the way her fingers tapped once against the armrest. Then, the alien ship answered. Light rippled across its hull, colors shifting in complex patterns. At the same time, a signal hit the station's receivers, fast and layered.
Incoming data burst, Lyra said. Nonverbal communication patterns detected.
Attempting translation. On screen, a section of the alien ship opened like a flower, revealing a chamber filled with glowing mist.
Inside stood a tall figure. It was at least 2.5 meters high, with a slender body supported by 3 jointed legs. Its skin was smooth and translucent, with lines of light moving beneath the surface in waves of blue, green, and soft violet. Where a head might be, there was a fan-like crest that shimmered brighter as it faced the camera. Mara forgot about her leg, forgot about the empty station. She leaned forward, eyes wide. "Hello," she said softly, even though she knew they might not understand yet. Lyra spoke a second later. Partial translation achieved. They identified themselves as the Vol Theri. This individual is a cultural observer designated Tarek. The lights on Tarek's body shifted, forming slower, more deliberate pulses. Translation improving, Lyra continued. They acknowledge your greeting.
They request permission to approach for emergency resupply and information exchange. They report minor drive damage.
Mara smiled. Of course they do.
No one visits a relay station just to chat.
She straightened in her chair. Transmit approval.
Provide docking coordinates. Welcome them to Coalition space.
As Lyra relayed the message, Mara caught her reflection in a side panel. Dark hair pulled back in a loose tie.
Faint lines of pain at the corners of her eyes, the heavy brace visible where her pant leg shifted. She looked at herself the way she imagined strangers did. Not the officer who had once led field teams on alien worlds. Not the woman who had dragged 2 diplomats out of a burning shuttle. Just someone diminished. She shook her head, annoyed with herself. Focus, Mara. The Valtheri ship moved with smooth grace, lining up with one of the station's docking arms. Metal clamps locked into place with a deep, echoing thud that vibrated through the hull. Docking secure, Lyra said. Mara pushed herself carefully to her feet. Pain flared, but she ignored it. Pressurize the airlock. Set up translation drones. Done. She made her way to the docking corridor, each step measured. She wished, not for the first time, that she did not have to think about every meter she walked, that she could just stride forward like she used to. The inner airlock door slid open with a hiss. Mist rolled in first, cool and damp, carrying a faint scent like rain on warm stone. Then Tarek stepped through. Up close, the Valtheri was even more striking. Light flowed under its skin in constant motion, brighter near what might be its upper body, softer along its limbs. Its 3 legs ended in wide, flexible pads that adjusted to the station floor. 2 small drone spheres floated beside Mara, projecting translation fields. Tarek stopped a few meters away. Its crest flared with a bright wash of blue and green. Greeting, the drone translated in a layered musical voice. We thank the human station for safe harbor. Mara placed one hand over her chest, the human gesture she usually used in first contact.
You're welcome. I'm Lieutenant Mara Ionescu.
I run this station! Tarek's lights shifted, a flicker of yellow moving through the blue. Its gaze, if that was what the focus of its crest meant, moved over her slowly. Mara felt the old, familiar tension. The moment when someone noticed. Her brace, the way she leaned slightly to one side, the stiffness in how she held herself. She waited for the change she had seen 100 times in human faces. Pity, discomfort, that quick look away. But Tarek did not look away. Its lights brightened, patterns moving faster. The crest tilted slightly. Query, the drone said. You are primary authority here? Yes, Mara said. Query, your movement is impaired. Yet you hold command? Mara forced a small professional smile. There it was. Curiosity dressed as politeness. Yes. I was injured in a previous mission. I can still perform my duties. Tarek was very still. Then its lights shifted into a deep, steady green Mara had not seen before.
Noted. The drone translated softly. There was no pity in the word.
No discomfort, just attention. For some reason that felt far more unsettling. The Valtheri did not move the way most species did. There was no restless shifting, no small, unconscious gestures. Tarek stood with calm balance on 3 legs, lights flowing slowly under its skin like quiet thoughts made visible. Mara suddenly felt very aware of the way she leaned on her cane. I can arrange repairs for your ship, she said, turning slightly so she could gesture down the corridor.
We don't get many visitors, but the station has a decent fabrication unit.
Gratitude, the drone translated as Tarek's colors warmed into soft gold. Assistance is accepted. Mara started walking. She kept her pace steady, not fast, not slow. The corridor felt longer than usual. She could hear the faint, uneven rhythm of her steps. Click, step, click, step. Behind her, Tarek moved with a quiet, padded sound, almost like fabric brushing the floor. Lyra, Mara said aloud. Routing engineering data from the Valtheri vessel to Bay 3. Routing now, the AI replied. After a few meters, the pain in her leg sharpened. She tried to hide the way her shoulders tightened. Your structure is under strain, the drone said suddenly. Mara blinked. My
structure? Your lower limb movement produces micro delays and imbalance.
This suggests pain.
Mara let out a short breath that might have been a laugh. Yeah.
That happens. You continue movement regardless, Tarek observed, lights shifting in thin, quick lines.
I don't have much choice, she said. Things still need doing. There was a pause. Then the drone translated, slower this time.
Among the Valtheri, individuals who continue function through damage are marked as high endurance. Mara shrugged.
Among humans, we call it getting on with it. She expected that to be the end of it, but she could feel Tarek's attention still on her, steady and focused, not drifting away like most people's did once they decided what she was. They reached the engineering bay. A wide hatch stood open, tools and drones already moving into position. A section of the outer wall was transparent, giving a view of the Valtheri ship docked beside the station. Up close, its hull looked less like metal and more like layered crystal, light moving deep inside it. Tarek stepped closer to the window. Its colors flared in bright blues and violets. Your vessel is beautiful, Mara said, leaning against a console to take weight off her leg.
Your station is resilient,
the drone replied. Mara smiled faintly. That's a polite way of saying old. Old structures that still function are valued, Tarek said. They have proven survival. Mara looked at the worn panels, the patched sections of wall, the handrails polished by years of use. She had never thought of the station as anything but a leftover assignment. Guess we have that in common, she muttered. Hours passed as repair data streamed between ship and station. Mara worked at a console, fingers flying over controls, mind focused on energy flow diagrams and material stress models. This part of her still worked perfectly. She did not need strong legs to solve engineering problems. Tarek remained nearby, watching everything. Sometimes its lights flickered rapidly when she made a fast decision or rerouted power in a clever way.
Your cognitive processing is efficient, the drone translated at one point. Mara smirked.
I'll take that as a compliment. It is intended as one. Eventually, a warning tone echoed through the bay. Lieutenant, Lyra said, external comm array 3 is misaligned. Likely micrometeor impact during the last debris wave. Signal efficiency reduced by 17%. Mara sighed. Of course it is. She pushed herself upright, grabbing her cane.
I'll go fix it!
Tarek's lights shifted to sharp white streaks.
You will exit the station physically? Yeah, it's a manual job. The drones can't get the angle right.
Your limb is already under strain. Mara paused, then gave a small shrug. Welcome to being human.
She headed for the suit locker.
The familiar routine settled her nerves. Undersuit first, seals tight, outer layer locked. She moved more slowly with the leg brace, but her hands were steady. Tarek watched from the doorway. External environment contains radiation spikes and temperature variance, it said.
I've handled worse, Mara replied.
She snapped her helmet into place. Voice now coming through speakers. Lyra, cycle airlock. The outer door opened to the endless black of space, the gas giant curving below like a painted sky. The damaged comm array extended from the station on a long arm. One panel twisted out of alignment. Mara clipped her tether to the rail and pulled herself along. Every movement sent dull vibrations through her leg, but in low gravity, it was manageable.
Inside the station, Tarek stood at the viewport, lights moving in restless patterns.
Her life signs show stress elevation, Lyra informed it. She proceeds regardless, Tarek said softly.
Outside, Mara reached the array. She locked her boots to the surface and began working the manual controls. Her gloved hands turned stiff levers, forcing the panel back into position a few degrees at a time.
Come on, she muttered.
You stubborn piece of... A sudden jolt ran through the structure as a small fragment of debris struck farther down the arm. The vibration shot straight through her bad leg. Pain exploded up her side, hot and dizzying. She froze, breathing hard.
Lieutenant, Lyra's voice came through her helmet. Impact detected. Radiation spike increasing.
Recommend immediate return. 2 more adjustments, Mara said through clenched teeth.
Signal's still off.
She forced her hands to move.
Turn.
Lock. Inside, Tarek's lights flared bright, rapid pulses of blue-white. Her damage increases, it said.
She is aware of the risk, Lyra replied. Why continue? Tarek asked.
Because the Valtheri ship requires a stable comm signal to calculate safe departure, Lyra said. And because she will prioritize others over herself. Tarek went still, lights dimming to a deep, thoughtful green. Outside, Mara finally slammed the last lever into place. Lyra? Signal efficiency restored to 99%, the AI said.
Excellent work, Lieutenant. Now please return. Mara allowed herself a shaky breath.
On my way. The trip back felt longer. Her vision blurred at the edges, and she had to stop twice to just hang on the rail and breathe through the pain. When she reached the airlock and pressure returned, she nearly stumbled as gravity took hold again. The inner door slid open. Tarek was waiting. Up close, its lights were a storm of color, shifting faster than before.
You should be in medical, it said immediately. Probably, Mara admitted, trying to unclip her helmet with fingers that did not want to listen.
Her leg gave out. She did not fall far. Tarek moved with sudden speed, one long limb bracing against the wall as another supported her weight. Its skin was warm and faintly glowing through her suit. Mara stared up at it, startled.
I'm okay,
she said automatically.
You are not?
Tarek replied. Lyra's medical drone zipped into the corridor, scanners flashing. Lieutenant, you are experiencing internal bleeding near the previous injury site.
You must come to Med Bay now.
Great,
Mara muttered weakly.
Love, that for me.
She did not argue as the drone and Tarek helped guide her down the corridor. Each step sent waves of nausea through her, but she bit it back. In the medbay, the drone eased her onto the diagnostic bed. Panels slid over her leg, scanning, injecting stabilizers. Tarek remained near the doorway, lights dimmer now, moving in slow, heavy patterns. Mara caught a glimpse of it through half-lidded eyes. You have to look so worried, she mumbled. Humans break all the time. We're kind of built for it. Tarek tilted its crest. You speak of damage as routine. Because it is, she said.
We patch up, we keep going.
That's the job. Her vision swam.
The ceiling lights blurred together. Rest, Lyra said gently.
I will monitor you. Darkness pulled her under before she could argue. When Mara woke, the lights were lower. Her leg was wrapped in fresh support mesh, numb from medication. The sharp pain was gone, replaced by a heavy ache. She turned her head. Tarek was still there. It stood by the far wall, motionless except for faint ripples of light. You're still here? She asked, voice rough. The drone translated. Your condition was uncertain. Mara huffed softly. I told you, hard to get rid of us. Tarek stepped a little closer. Among the Valtheri, one who survives repeated harm is considered forged by reality. Mara gave a tired smile. That's a poetic way to say beat up. Tarek's lights shifted, a gentle pulse of blue. You diminish your endurance with humor? Yeah. she said quietly. That's kind of our thing. She looked down at her leg, at the layers of tech and metal that helped it work. Doesn't mean much, though, she added. Not really. Tarek's crest tilted again. Explain. Mara stared at the ceiling. Where I come from, if you can't do the job like you used to, you get moved somewhere quieter. Somewhere safe. Out of the way.
You saved lives, Tarek said. Yeah.
Once. She swallowed.
Now I run a relay station no one visits.
Tarek was silent for a long moment. Then its lights brightened, slow and steady.
We visited, it said.
Mara blinked at that. For the first time in a long while, the station did not feel quite so empty. Mara did not like waking up in the medbay. The lights were always too white, too clean, like the room expected her to apologize for bleeding on its perfect surfaces. She lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling while the station hummed around her. Her leg felt heavy, wrapped tight in medical mesh. The sharp pain from earlier had dulled into a deep, throbbing ache that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat.
Good morning, Lieutenant, Lyra said softly. Your internal bleeding has stopped.
Tissue stress remains high.
You are on mandatory light duty. Mara let out a quiet groan.
Define light. No external station work. Limited walking.
Increased rest periods.
Yeah, Mara muttered.
We'll see. She pushed herself up on her elbows, then slowly swung her legs over the side of the bed. The moment her right foot touched the floor, fire ran up her nerves. She sucked in a breath but did not make a sound. Across the room, a shape shifted. Tarek stood near the wall, its tall form outlined by the soft glow under its skin. The colors were muted today, slow waves of blue and green, instead of the bright flares she had seen before.
You remained, Mara said, surprised despite herself. Yes, the drone translated. Your condition was unstable. I had a med drone and an AI, she said. You didn't have to stand guard. Observation of resilience in recovery is
Important,
Tarek replied. Mara snorted softly. Trust me, it's not very exciting. Mostly just lying there and trying not to move. Tarek stepped closer, movements careful and smooth. Its crest tilted as it watched her struggle to stand fully upright with the help of her cane. You experience pain, it said.
Yep. You choose to move anyway. Also, yep. Why?
Mara paused, one hand gripping the edge of the bed. Because if I stop moving, everything gets smaller. Tarek's lights rippled in a questioning pattern. She gestured vaguely around them. My world, my job, my life. Pain makes you want to stay still, but if you do that too long, you end up stuck in one room, then one chair, then one thought.
I'd rather limp. Tarek was silent, colors deepening.
Mara straightened with effort. Besides, your ship still needs parts fabricated.
I'm not letting you leave with a half-fixed drive. You place our needs above your structural integrity, Tarek observed.
Mara gave a tired smile. That's called being a good host.
Over the next 2 days, Mara forced herself back into routine. She moved slower, and Lyra constantly reminded her to sit down, hydrate, breathe.
She ignored half of it. Tarek followed her often, watching how she worked from consoles instead of climbing ladders, how she used tools with long handles, so she did not have to crouch. At first, Mara thought the Valtheri was just gathering data. Cultural observer. Studying humans like an interesting case file. But there was something different in the way Tarek watched her. Not cold, not distant, focused, intent, On the third day after her collapse, a priority signal flashed across the main display. Mara was in the command chair, leg propped on a support brace Lyra had extended from the floor. "Lyra, what is it?" she asked. "Long-range coalition channel," the AI said. "Priority update for all frontier stations." "Put it through." A human face appeared on screen, grainy from the distance.
Commander Halvorsen from Regional Operations.
Mara knew him only from official briefings. "Relay Station K-47, he said briskly. "Lieutenant Ionescu. Confirm receipt." "Confirmed," Mara replied. "We've reviewed your last medical report. Combined with your recent incident, Command has decided to move up your reassignment. A transport will reroute to your system in 3 weeks to bring you back to a core facility." Mara's stomach dropped. "Sir," she said carefully, "my station is fully operational. We have visiting dignitaries docked. I can still perform." "This isn't disciplinary," Halvorsen cut in. "It's about long-term sustainability. You've done more than your share. Time to let someone else handle the frontier." Translation: "You've done enough. You're done."
I understand, Mara said, because she did understand how this went. Good. Begin transfer prep. Regional ops out.
The screen went dark. For a long moment, the only sound was the low hum of life support. Tarek stood near the side of the room, colors shifting in tight, sharp patterns.
"You are being removed from command," it said.
"Reassigned," Mara corrected automatically. "Nicer word for the same thing. You objected, didn't matter." She stared at the blank screen. 3 weeks. After 5 years alone out here, she would be sent somewhere safer, somewhere with better medical support. Somewhere she would not be in charge of anything important. Somewhere she would be managed. "That's fine," she said quietly. "It was always temporary." Tarek moved closer.
Your vocal tone suggests distress. Mara laughed, but it came out thin. I'm just tired. You are being separated from a role that gives you purpose, Tarek said.
"And you call this fine?" Mara's grip tightened on the armrest. "I can't exactly argue with command from a relay station in the middle of nowhere." Tarek's lights flared, a sudden bright blue. "Among the Valtheri, removal of a proven leader due to injury would be considered wasteful."
Yeah, well, Mara said, blinking hard. Humans are great at wasting people once they're not at 100%. She regretted the words as soon as they left her mouth. Too honest.
Too close to something she usually kept locked down. Tarek was very still. "You believe yourself. Less now." Mara did not answer. Because yes, she did. Later that cycle, alarms screamed through the station. Mara jerked upright in her chair, pain forgotten. "Report. Unstable energy surge detected on the Valtheri vessel," Lyra said. "Drive core fluctuation. Cascade failure possible." On the external feed, the beautiful silver ship flickered, its blue lights stuttering erratically. Tarek's colors exploded into frantic flashing patterns. "Our primary containment lattice is failing," the drone translated, voice layered with distortion. "We require immediate stabilization, or we must eject the core."
Eject it where?
Mara demanded.
Into open space, Lyra said.
But the release vector intersects with the station's orbital path, so either they blow up or we both do, Mara said. Great options. She was already moving, shoving herself out of the chair.
"Lieutenant, your medical status," Lyra began. "Not now!" She grabbed her cane and half hobbled, half ran for the docking corridor. "Tarek! With me!" she called. Inside the Valtheri ship, the air was warm and thick, filled with glowing mist. Lights under the walls pulsed in chaotic waves. The floor vibrated under Mara's boots.
Show me the core controls, she said, breathing hard. Tarek led her through curving corridors into a central chamber where a sphere of blinding blue-white energy floated between arcing supports.
Sparks of light snapped across its surface. Containment field collapsing, Lyra reported through Mara's suit comm. You have approximately 9 minutes before critical failure. Can you stabilize it from here? Mara asked. Valtheri interface is incompatible with my remote systems. Then we do it manually. Tarek extended a limb toward a set of organic-looking consoles. Field harmonics must be realigned, but the controls require fine bioelectric modulation. Mara stared at the shifting lights. I don't have bioelectric anything fancy. Tarek looked at her, then at the cables running from the console. Your nervous system produces electrical signals, it said. You're not suggesting I plug myself into your engine. Yes. Mara barked a breathless laugh. Of course you are. Another surge rocked the chamber. Pain lanced up her leg as she stumbled. 7 minutes, Lyra warned. Mara looked at the raging core, at Tarek, at the station feed in the corner of her vision. Tell me what to do, she said. Tarek guided her hands to 2 contact nodes. The surface was warm, almost alive. When I signal, you will focus on steady rhythmic output, it said. We will use your neural patterns as a stabilizing template. I have no idea what that means, Mara said. But let's go! She pressed her palms to the nodes. Instantly, a buzzing sensation ran up her arms, not painful but intense, like static under her skin. Now, Tarek said. Mara closed her eyes and did the only thing she could think of. She focused on her breathing. In, out, slow, steady. She imagined walking down the station corridor, step by step, click, step, click, step. The rhythm she had lived with for years, the wild flares of the core began to slow. Field coherence improving, Lyra said, surprise in her voice. Sweat rolled down Mara's face. Her injured leg trembled violently, nerves misfiring. Don't you dare give out now, she whispered to herself. Tarek's lights moved in perfect sync with the core now, echoing her rhythm. 3 minutes, Lyra said. Mara's vision blurred. Every nerve in her body felt like an exposed wire. I can't hold, she gasped. You already are, Tarek said, its voice low and steady through the drone. Endure. So she did. She endured the shaking, the pain, the fear that her body would fail before the machine did. Gradually, the violent light of the core softened into a stable glow. Containment field restored, Lyra announced. Catastrophic failure averted. Mara sagged forward, hands slipping from the nodes. Tarek caught her before she hit the floor. Her last thought before darkness took her was simple and distant. Maybe I'm not useless yet.